You are delusional. I don't mean to be mean. And maybe some of you will do it and you're going to get lucky like I did and have one huge win and be profitable. But I promise you, if you go in at least expecting that, you have your head on screwed wrong, right? Expect to lose. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for you guys. It was my experience and it's most people's experiences. You will lose money early on, whether you were prepared or not prepared. There's a learning curve and kind of a uphill battle to get through when you do something as intense, as much knowledge there is out there to profitably day trading. What is going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about my trading journey. Now, if you are familiar with who I am, you've probably heard my story plenty of times on other podcasts, maybe even other YouTube videos, right? But if you're new to the channel, hi, welcome. This video is going to be a little bit more about me. How on earth I got started, what my early journey was like. I feel like a lot of beginner traders can relate to that because I, believe it or not, being a millionaire trader, was once a beginner, was once someone who felt like they were the worst trader in existence. Without further ado, let's just jump right in step by step from the beginning. Let's take us back to really the first full month of me trading. Now, I had kind of maybe dabbled a bit here and there over the summer of 2016, so like June, July, but August was the first real month where I said, okay, like I need to take this seriously, or somewhat seriously. At the time I was still very lazy, right? But I took trading seriously. I started to actually track, like you see here, like this Excel sheet that I'm using, or this trading journal that I'm using. It's literally how this started. I was like, okay, I need to put my trades in some kind of template that works for me. And this is when I started doing that, right? And this is almost feel like why I feel, even qualified to make a video like this, because we can literally go back in history and just see the trades and the things I was doing. And so I start trading. And again, I got gravitated towards small caps. Tim Sykes is a very popular name that most people probably know of or heard of. He was someone I started to trade or to learn from, and then opened up a 6K E-Trade account, and that was it. I just started off to the races immediately. Looking back, again, for the first kind of beginner lesson would be like, did I have to start trading right away? I mean, I literally watched maybe a few hours at most of educational content about trading and then immediately wanted to trade. Looking back, was that the right move? Probably not. I probably and should have put in more hours, right? More level of preparation. Now, the flip side of this though is that don't be the person who is studying for months without ever trading, or out trying to, whether it's paper trading, trading with small size, that like a couple dollars, right? Don't be the guy or the person who's never going to get started. Like they're waiting for the right moment and there's never an actual right moment. You just have to start. If you had to choose an extreme, I'm going to obviously be biased and go with what I did, which is just jump, head first, but don't be the guy who never jumps into the water either, right? Put your toe in, get started, get a feeler for things. And I did the opposite, right? I just went full in, head first, watched a couple hours and then said, all right, let's start trading. Obviously that led to losses, right? By my first month, you can tell every time I take a loser, it is bigger than any, gain. The downside to this is, and this is what hooked me, right? I think every beginning trader has a moment where they are hooked or find a trade when they are hooked. And mine happened very early on. You can see this in the calendar here. So I'm taking losses. First red week, $170 on a 6K E-Trade account. Not a big deal. We're going to keep trading, keep moving. But on the 8th of August, 2016, I make $480, okay? I was hooked. And it was on a trade that I was completely lucky, had no idea what I was doing. It truly was, I gambled and I got it right. Just straight up. Now, obviously, I learned very quickly that doesn't mean I'm just going to make money, because over the next 3 days, gave it all back very, very quickly, okay? And then red week. First week or first month total, I ended up losing just under $1,200, have a 23% win rate. My average loser and winner is around the same size. It's not that great at all. In fact, I'm actually even shocked my average winner is even above my average loser. And I would say the only reason why that is because of that one big win, right? So either way, not a profitable trader. That is very expected in the first month. If you go into day trading expecting to be green the very first month, you are delusional. I don't mean to be mean. And maybe some of you will do it and you're going to get lucky like I did and have one huge win and be profitable. But I promise you, if you go in at least expecting that, you have your head on screwed wrong, right? Expect to lose. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for you guys. It was my experience and it's most people's experiences. You will lose money early on, whether you were prepared or not prepared. There's a learning curve and kind of a uphill battle to get through when you do something as intense, as much knowledge there is out there to profitably day trading.
Ever dreamed of trading like one of the Clovers? Well, it all starts with choosing the right broker. Clover Trading and Cobra have teamed up to supercharge your trading experience. By clicking below, you'll unlock the power of Cobra Prime. We're talking top-tier trading tools, saving you hundreds of dollars. Get ahead with real-time scanners, cutting-edge news, 30 days of commission-free trading, 30 days of free DAS software, 60 days free of Ask Edgar, and so much more. Imagine all that, plus superior short inventory, personalized support, and interest on your idle funds. But it doesn't stop there. Cobra offers competitive pricing on locates and commissions that fit your trading style, with the ability to trade stocks, futures, options, and other products. If you're under the pattern day trading rule, Cobra has a unique solution for you. Venom, a platform designed for traders with smaller accounts to go long or short on small and mid-cap stocks. Ready to elevate your trading game and save big? Click the link below to access exclusive deals only available through Clover Trading and Cobra.
Going to month 2, same thing, right? A lot more red than a lot more green. I think I had my new biggest loss at the time, literally like, again, just as big as my first big gain, took a big loss, right? Lost almost $400, okay? So month 2, I'm losing $900 and 25% win rate, still very low. This is where it starts to really be blaringly obvious, right? My average loss is bigger than my average gain. Plus you have a win rate below 50%. Like you have no chance, right? You're going to be losing. We keep doing this. October is, it's almost like I'm getting worse to some degree, right? Now I have no green trades at all and I'm red across the board. Win rate is 0. Oh my God, it's actually crazy for me looking back at this now being, 9 years ago. Literally didn't win. Like my average gain is 0 because I did not pull a win to save my life. Now, the good part is that my average loss is lower. We are making progress in that perspective. We're not making any profits yet. We're not getting to the green, but maybe we're starting to actually minimize the losers. And that's a very key component many people overlook. Now, November, still some wins, but again, still losing. Win rate still low. Risk reward still off, right? This is the trend you're going to see not only in myself, but in probably yourself. That is literally the mathematical equation of why people are losing. They either are losing too much than they win, or when they do lose, they are losing more than when they win, or in greater size of loss than when they win, right? It's the same thing here. Win rate's getting better. Right, we're going from 20s to 30s, now 40s. But again, this risk reward still doesn't make sense. We're in the 60s in the wins, almost 80 in the losses. Still doesn't add up. We jump into 2017. And before I actually go forward, so let's look at total losses now. We've lost, just under 1,200. So let's call this 2,000 between the first 2 months. 2,500, call it around. Yeah, then another 500, so $3,000, and then 140. Again, notice progress. Right? We're losing less, 140. So we're down about like 3,100, 3,200. Okay. January starts and same thing as October, 0% win rate. Couldn't pull a win to save my life, red across the board. And this is when I kind of met my breaking point, specifically going into February, because I kept going to February, continually more losses, all straight red. I had another 0% win rate to start the month of February. So I had pretty much 6 weeks now of couldn't find a win to save my life. And you might ask yourself, well, Kyle, what were you trading? What were you doing? I couldn't tell you. That's the problem, guys. I was literally just buying things that I thought would go up. I was shorting things that I thought would go down. I didn't have any sort of structure or strategy as to what on earth I was doing or how on earth I was actually going to pull money on the market. All of these green trades or green days you see here, complete luck. It's literally what they were. They were just trades that I happened to flip a coin and I was on the right side of that flip. I mean, seriously. And by this point, after 6 weeks of losing straight, I had had enough. I said, okay, like clearly what I'm doing is wrong. I've now bled my account down to this is like now 3,600. We lose another 200. I'm now down like $3,800 on my 6K account. Well over half is gone. And I realized if I keep doing this, the other half's going to be gone. It's not like I wasn't studying. It's not like I wasn't learning from these trades or getting better or seeing, things in the background. Because eventually I stopped because I realized everything I'm learning, I'm doing none of it. Everything I'm studying in the background, all the hours I'm putting in, all the podcasts I'm listening, the books I'm reading, the articles I'm reading, the YouTube videos I'm watching, the video lessons, the webinars, none of it was sticking because I was never actually applying any of it, right? Because it would just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So finally I said, I've had enough. I was like, I'm going to go back to the drawing board. I'm going to kind of pull apart what I'm actually finding some success at. It may not be on paper or on trading, but like where am I noticing and gravitating towards that actual knowledge in those, podcasts, YouTube videos, etc. that like I'm actually finding some, familiarity and I can like actually turn something profitable. And I said, I'm going to do that for as long as it takes until I find a trade that is so good I can't not take it and I fully understand the trade inside and out. Thankfully, I only had to wait a week. It's almost like the stock market gods blessed me. They're like, okay, he finally is willing to do what it takes or doing the work or putting the discipline cap on, right? To like just stop bleeding your accounts and they're going to give you an opportunity. And so that's what they did. And so lo and behold, we have a $5.50 profit day, and it is so minuscule. It is almost a joke looking back at it that changed that this day changed for me, but it ironically did. Let me just show you the trade. I still have it screenshotted. Ignore the yellow lines because I thought I was drawing lines correctly back then. I was not. But this is Fannie Mae. Fannie Mae is still around, and during this period, during like 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, it had this pattern happen probably 5 to 6 times. And this was, I think, the last time I had done this pattern, but I had seen it happen from videos, from watching years prior. And so I had understood the dynamics of the setup. I understood the dynamics of like all red selling candles. And then the first time it stops selling and turns green, it ends up having a really, really big bounce. And Fannie Mae is one of the better tickers to ever do this kind of setup. So they're all not this perfect. But because I saw how perfect it was happening on Fannie Mae and knew how perfect it had been on Fannie Mae in the past, that was the, okay, this is too good. I can't miss this moment. So that's why I kind of, came out of this non-trading chains that I had on my wrist, let's call it, in jail. And I came out of it and I said, let's take this trade. I bought it at the lows. I sold it when I saw its first red candle. It ended up going much, much higher. But again, I locked in nearly $6, $5.50. And it wasn't about the money, but it was about the fact that I just predicted or put myself in a position to get a part of the move that I saw coming. It wasn't like I got lucky randomly guessing like I've been talking about. It was like I had something that was predictable, right? Not foolproof predictable, but predictable enough that I bought where I should have bought and sold for a profit. And that was the beginning of me realizing that I just need to be doing that. Like, screw everything else, screw the gambling, screw the just guessing games. Let's just dive in and hone in on what was called at the time the OTC panic dip buy, okay? And that's what I solely did. Like, I literally, I hunkered down. I was like, this is what I need to be doing. Just by making that shift, look how drastically this changes, right? And you can watch the beginning of this video over again just to see the difference, right? All of red months, I finally stop. I find something that's actually predictable, an edge that actually exists in the market, and boom, next month, I'm green. Okay. Still some choppiness, right? Still only in 40% range. Still some red days, plenty of them, but we're green, right? Still some red weeks, but we finished the month green. First green month of my career in March 2017. Okay. Win rate is actually good now. We have a $26 loss, and you'll notice it's $26, way less than 40, right? Way less than 40, especially way less than 141 or 130, right? We're still having that trend of I am losing less. And then once I got losing less under control, I now started actually making money. It's like that shift. It's like I stopped the bleeding just ever so slightly and then started gaining ever so slightly to then have that shift occur. And all of a sudden I was profitable. And then again, I know we're going over this in maybe a short few minutes of time of a video, but again, this is months in the making. We're approaching almost a year, right? We have a few more months to get to a year, but of studying, working, and this is every day, hours a day, 6 to 8, 10 hours a day of putting some kind of effort towards this, right? So I don't want to make it sound like, oh, I found a pattern and whoop-de-doo, here I am. No, this was again, this entire time grinding through this period, okay? But then let's just speed up a little bit. We get to April, red month, right? Still one low win rate, a lot more losses. It's going to happen. Just because you have one green month doesn't mean now you're just perfect, okay, and everything's good. I learned that very quickly, right? So I gave back pretty much all of my profits from the previous month, but we keep moving forward. We keep grinding. We keep studying. Another break-even month. This is a little better. This is red, but we lose just $20. Win rate's still okay. Wish score is getting, it's rotating, right? It's a slow shift, but we're still not there yet. Boom, June. We're getting there, 377. And by this point, I will admit, we are doing the panic OTC dip buy, but I will say one of the patterns of the OTC panic dip buy is the stock has to panic. And usually stocks that were panicking back then, and this is still true today, they had to run up a ton. So they had to go up, 100, 200, 300% over a few days. And then when they panicked for the first time is when they offered that bounce. Now, I had realized if I could short sell these, I could be there for the panic. At this point now, especially when we get into June, July, I've now kind of captured these two, what I think at the time are edges. Turns out they were edges, but again, I'm just going off of what I was trying to grind away at the computer screen with, which is I'm going to short these when I think they're going to panic, cover it, and then try to be there for the dip buy, or at least one of the two, right? Not always both, but at least one of the two. And so here we are, $377 profit. Huge win rate, biggest jump in win rate. I don't think any other month where I had been over 50%. Finally, first month, over 50% win rate. Risk reward is not good still, right? We're still actually having bigger losses than wins, but the win rate makes up for that. Okay, we keep moving on. Boom, another profit month. Now the second profitable month in a row here. Okay, and then the 300 range, risk reward better, right? $26 in losses, $46 in gains. And then we keep going, $900 profit. It's now we're getting somewhere. After, people always ask me, when you size, when's the right time to size up, or when's the right time to feel like you've gotten some traction or you're going somewhere? This, for me, after August, was that first moment of having now 3 months of profitability, and not just 3 months of profitability, but actual good stats that are significantly different than any other month I've had, right? It's okay, And again, I'm doing it off of just 2 setups, OTC panic dip buys and shorting them before before the panic, right? You put it together, I'm like, okay, I have something here. I don't know how long it's going to work, but I have something here. And so we keep doing that. September, $700, 60% win rate. Risk reward's good. I mean, you're going to catch a pattern here. October, $300. Win rate's lower, but risk reward's good. So it's like there's like the 3 dynamics. Like, when are you profitable? What's your win rate? What's your risk reward? And you should be able to find out pretty quickly whether you're winning or losing. Okay. Moving on to November, $1,000, 57% win rate. Risk reward's good. December, really good December. First $2,000 month, good win rate, good risk reward. Boom, profitable, right? Then I start acting, and you notice 2016 doesn't have these stats, but 2017 does. I start tracking more. I've made $5,000 now in the year. Like, huge. I ended up having 100% return on my account. Talking about looking at all the best traders that I had, all the worst, what my averages, what my best days, my best weeks, my overall win rate. I'm getting more analytical and analyzing and reflecting and just getting, and refining that process, right? And so we're going to speed it up here, but essentially we get into 2018, right? $800 a month, $1,500 a month, $2,000, $3,000, first $3,000 month, right? $2,500. Back to 9. And you'll notice the lower months are once my higher months. When, just a year ago, $900 was my new best month. But now low months for me are now becoming what new best months were, right? Because now we're going to $1,700. Again, that used to be a good month for me. Now it was a lower month for me, right? $4,000, first $4,000 month, right? $6,000, first $6,000 month. Now $5,000 or just under $5,000. Back to $800, right? December, $2,700. And then we finish up the year, $3,200. Okay. I'm talking about years in the making, but in minutes in a video. So I try to extrapolate that. And we're now 2 to 2.5 years in, and I'm actually now profitable, and we're not making life-changing money yet, but we're making money that is starting to be meaningful. Like, my accounts are now growing. I'll repeat at this point. I'm having now 280% return on my small account. Like, we're moving places, we're going places. And now it's just a matter of time. Can we just keep extrapolating this out month over month, year over year? And so 2019 was one of my first real years where I actually was doing that. I actually now made a livable wage. I get the money I earned in 2019, I could have lived off of, and I did. So boom, 7K, 8K, just under 8K, right? Just under 8K, just under 9K, first 9K month, 7,500, 6,800, first 5-figure month, July 2019. And not only is it just 5 figures, it blows right through 10K straight to 16K, back to low 1,200. And again, notice the difference, right? Well, once was a high month, is now becoming the low months for me. That exponent, that expansion of how much P&L can be keeps grinding higher. 5K, right? 4K, and then another 5K month or 5-figure month. And we're finishing up the year $92,000. Most people in America don't make this yearly. And here I am doing it in 2019. So this was the year, right? If the first 3 months profitable was when I realized I have something, this was the year I realized, OSHIT, I can do this for a living. I don't have to necessarily make millions, but if I'm making $92,000 a year, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to do well. That was kind of like the moment, somebody asked when do you realize you make it? I would never say there's any one moment you make it. If there's any one moment that I realized I'm going to be okay, that was that. That was that year. And then we're going to speed up even more. We get to 2020. This is when COVID happens, right? COVID kicks off right in March of 2020. And you'll notice by the months, 20K month, 20K month, or 19K month, 23, 26, 32, 75. Okay, we go from barely having any 5-figure months to having all 5-figure months to start the year off of 2020, let alone approaching 6 figures. Like, that's how quickly and parabolic it went, right? After these now 4 to 5 years of experience, all that grinding like we've been talking about, and all this experience we're gaining, and boom, like we start to explode. And again, was still only trading first red days, like the panic, shorting them before the panic and dip buying them? That was the main point of it. Did I expand my playbook once I started getting a little extra money on the side? Absolutely. I got better at buying breakouts, right? I got better at buying first green days. I started actually doing a little bit of parabolic shorting, which is very risky, but at this point I have a little more bankroll to my name, so I'm able to do so. I expand from OTCs into listed stocks, right? That happened at like the end of 2019. So I'm kind of trying to go through it to make it a decent time frame in this video, but as it's like people want to do everything right at once, but if you hone in on a small thing short quickly, or a short thing in the beginning, and then expand when you have the extra money to risk, I think that is the formula to actually expand your playbook. Don't be the guy who wants to trade everything right now, right? You can't do everything, or you can do anything, but you can't do everything, right? So hone in, and then once you hone in and find profitability there and get more money to risk, then you can expand a bit. And that certainly was the case for me. So by 2020, I've very much expanded. Partly that helps the profitability, but I will admit a lot of these trades here were still the tried and true panic dip buys and some first red day shorts, right? So then 80 grand, 67 grand, back to 5. So again, we still have low months. It's not like our months are ever always huge. But as I expand my size, as I get more aggressive, as I increase my risk and in my playbook, the lower months are what once the higher months once were. We keep going, 43, 59, and then boom, first six-figure month in December 2020. And again, blow it out of the water. Go from, forget even 100 grand, we're going up to 220 grand. Okay. Finish up 2022 at around 670K in profits. And so now we're sitting at what? Just under $1 million, roughly like 800K or so in profits, right around there. And so then we hit January 2021, go back, and another 260K month, 60K. And so I passed, and then so I think I was just under $1 million here, and I think I crossed $1 million. It was either this week or this week. Obviously, just from the sheer numbers of like if we're around 800K, we make 200K more, and then we cross it there. So one of these weeks, and right before my birthday in February of 25 is when I crossed $1 million. And again, I'm not even talking about the months, but like now I'm back to back $200,000 months. Then we have a $440,000 month. This was like the peak of COVID, right? Like if you didn't trade around COVID, then you didn't know this. But for those who are maybe learning about this now, the COVID market, this was the peak. $440,000 month was my new best month, and it was stayed my new best month for a very long time, for years. Okay, that's like how pinnacle peak this kind of action was. And again, we're talking about having six-figure weeks, let alone six-figure months, right? Let alone six-figure trades, right? I don't have right here, six-figure days on the 23rd of February, right? Just insane, all right? So March, 150, April, 64, 160 in May, back to 250 in June, it's 117. So it's like, again, like once you reach new levels, you can see how it can be, it's not hard. It can be very easy to go back to new levels if you don't follow risk management. But like when times do get tougher or you do have lower months, they're literally at what once was your best. Like again, I had a $6,000 account, and at this point I'm now risking like $6,000 a trade. Look at my average loss is $6,000, right? 5 years ago, my entire account was $6,000, right? The exponential of it all is insane. So September, 65,000, 330,000. This was my second best month of my career, right? That stayed there for a long time as well. And then we finish off the year over $2 million. Right? So first seven-figure year, again, blow it out of the water. Don't do $1 million, but do $2 million. And again, so like, we're in 2022. 2022 was a tough year, and I don't want to have to necessarily go through it all. But again, you got to think about it. COVID was a huge year, almost like a peak bubble. That ended. And so now this was much tougher. I finally have some serious red months. Right? I think I have like 2 or 3 of this year if we keep scrolling. Still some good months, right? We make $200,000, but yeah, have some much bigger losses as well, right? Practically wipe my entire month away on the last day of the month, losing 150 grand in a single day, and then losing more the next day. And I scrape away green both months, but like, man, we're talking much bigger risks being taken, much more choppier swings, much tougher market, like I've been saying. And yeah, I mean, here, talk about a $400,000 loss day. But this wasn't necessarily a trade. This was, I had like long-term positions that I had bought and coursed at the beginning of 2022. Again, 2022 was a very tough market. The overall markets went down, and so the stocks I owned went down. And so I got kind of beaten up there, and I had to sell them all on the day into December, leading to the next year, because I just didn't want to hold them on to leading to the next year and save some money on taxes, right? Some write-offs or some losses. So again, led to a pretty ugly, my biggest and worst month of my career, right? Still, don't boo-hoo poor me, right? Still finished the year up just under $500,000. But again, in comparison, you got to think about the psychology of things. Like if you just made $2 million one year and then a quarter of that next year, that's the reality of trading or of traders that you need to be aware of. Like if you do pass, that level of profitability, not every month or every year or every quarter is going to be this new best thing. There's going to be ups and downs. You're not going to be able to have this new PR period every single time. But anyways, get 2023, things get better, right? We improve. We're still not having, the epic year that I had, but we are improving from 2022. Right, we're almost a little bit under double, right, which is good to see. Then we keep going. Then we're in 2024, and you see I'm kind of speeding it up because now this is like once you get year 5, year 6, year 7 in of profitable trading, that process should be like running on autopilot almost, right? Like I don't have much more milestones or things to really share, and at this point only because, or at least in this point in the career, I don't want to say it's as dull as 9 to 5 because I'm very passionate about it, but it's like you're on autopilot, right? You're still refining, you're still getting better, don't get me wrong, but you've come into your own. Again, still having 5-figure months, still some losing months, right? This was a rough one, but again, still also having 6-figure months, and so they keep growing. But again, 2024 is finally when I think I have, here it is. Finally, that previous new best month in February 2021, finally November 2024, I beat that. Right, so we had an 800K month, all because of one huge trade from MSTR. I have tons of videos about that on the YouTube channel and on my personal YouTube channel, but just start crushing it. Finally, we're reaching some level of new milestone. Closing up this year, just under 2 million. So didn't beat 2021, right? But was pretty dang close, right? We were less than 6 figures away of it. And do I really care? No, right? I wasn't even thinking about it. I wasn't until I actually did my numbers for the year that I had realized, oh crap, look how close I was, right? And I'm kind of glad I did, because if I did know how close I was in the moment, I probably would have done it emotionally and been like, oh, like let's try to make a good trade and get close to it, right? But like that could have usually that leads to losing and not being close at all. So I'm happy that happened. But here we are now in 2025. I am filming this, in June, going into July, and we're still having $400,000 a month here, third best, right? It wasn't 440 in February of 21, and it wasn't 800 in November 2024. So this is now up there, just under 100K here, 60K there. 168, 334, big one. June, unfortunately, we're ending June pretty low at negative 140, but again, that happens. You've seen plenty of those so far. And then we have the rest of the 25 to go. Yeah, just over 900,000. Will I beat 2024? Will I beat 2021? I have no idea, and I don't really care, right? That's the part about it. Like, not setting expectations and just sticking to the process that got you there in the first place is what I've done, has allowed me to make that growth, just happen, right? And then to close out the video, if you look at like the P&L curve of my entire career, which is on the left here, all of that losing, right? The first 6 months, 8 months of just finding almost no wins ever. It's microscopic now to where we are today, right? Or where I am today. And you have these dips, right? Some of those big losses we went over, like they're there. You can see them. I'm red this month. That's this pullback, right? That's this right here. Boom. You can see that. That's this year. But just like to look back 9 years later and all the work you might be putting in, and I say this because if you're watching this and you are putting work in, you probably have some level of doubt, some level of feeling like trading's not for you, seeing how freaking difficult it is, because I know exactly how you feel. Like, again, during that period, many thoughts of quitting all the time, right? But the passion or the perseverance to want to stick with it, and then the discipline to follow through and build a process that actually creates profitability. And then you do that for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and you show up every single day. This is what can happen, right? Now, is it going to happen to everybody? Of course not. It's going to happen to very few people, but you can't say it doesn't. So anyways, that's kind of my story in a nutshell. Obviously, I could go into much more detail for probably hours about my journey, right? And all these different trades I've taken, but I obviously tried to keep it minimal and to the point. And so hopefully this inspires you. Hopefully you learn about it. Hopefully you feel like you're not alone, right? Again, it's easy for me to look at me now and be like, look at this millionaire trader. It was some overnight success. I hope after watching this video, you realize it was not. It was anything from that, right? We're talking months to years of grinding and figuring it out and getting better. And over time, it begins to look like an overnight success. So anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks so much. Bye.